Hello everyone, Trophy Wine Hunter. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm at the JW Marriott. I'm just on the 18th floor near their infinity pool. Thought I'd do the video outside. And I'm going to be reviewing the 1975 Beau-Sejour Becot. The history of this winery is really interesting. It starts in 1700s. It was owned by the monks of the St. Martin Abbey in St.Emilion. So the name Beau-Sejour Becot comes from two kind of sources. The first is in 1787 when there's a General Charles who owned the property and named the property Beau-Sejour as lovely place. I guess these guys, they just look around, they say, well, it's a great lovely place, and therefore that's why we call it Beau-Sejour. Then in 1869, a person called Pierre-Paulin Ducarpe, he was the owner and he died, so he split the winery into two. One part to his daughter and one part to his son. The son's winery became this modern day Beau-Sejour Becot, and the daughter married Mr. Lagarosse, and that now becomes modern day Beau-Sejour-Lagarosse. So in 1869, I think the name of the winery is just Beau-Sejour, and the other one was Beau-Sejour-Lagarosse. We fast forward to 1929, the owner became a doctor called Doctor Fagouet, and he actually renamed it called Beau-Sejour Dr. Fagouet, which is kind of a weird name of a winery to have a doctor in there. Anyways, that didn't last long. He sold it to the Becot family in 1969. And it was purchased by Michel Becot, and he basically made his money in the automotive industry. And he really turned things around. Unfortunately, they had a bit of a controversy because it's kind of difficult to understand, but they actually, I think they used some grapes from another vineyard, and they got in trouble because they didn't tell the authorities. And they got demoted, I think, in 1986 for, I don't know, mislabeled. They got back their rating in 1996, just controversy. So maybe that's one of the reasons why Beau-Sejour Becot doesn't have the reputation or has suffered a lack of reputation for a couple of years. Beau-Sejour Becot is a Premier Grand Cru Classe B. It's one of 12 wineries. And these are, if you look at my St.Emilion classification video, these are some of the top wineries. Premier Class A, Grand Cru Classe A are, I guess, top of the chain. There's only 2 right now, and then next up is the next 12. So I'm holding my mic here because it's a little bit windy, and so I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I thought it'd be neat to just change the setting here. Modern day Beau-Sejour Becot is just a spectacular wine for a couple of reasons. One is that in 2012 they added a winery called Le Gomery. So if you ever had this wine, Le Gomery is kind of a garage type wine. It was only produced for about 30 years. I think it started in the 80s. It was a spectacular wine. The 90s, if you can find the vintages, are great. And it's also not that expensive because it's not that well known. So anyways, they added that winery. And in fact, I think that winery, Le Gomery, is actually better in terms of the site than Beau-Sejour Becot. So that's added to it. Second thing they've done in the modern age is they've added amphora. And so they age about 25% of the wines in amphora. And that's, for me, that normally means that the wine is going to improve in quality. Then lastly, they have the family, it's been family run, but right now Juliette Becot and Julien Bart have now been placed in command since 2014. So I really think the best age of Beau-Sejour Becot wines are present day. So Beau-Sejour Becot is about a 22 hectare vineyard, of which 17 is planted with grapes. It's a blend of 65% Merlot and 35% Cabernet Franc. There's a bit of Cabernet Sauvignon, but not very much. It's not very much used in the blend. The wine is aged in about 55% new oak, and they produce about 7,500 cases each year. So let's talk about the vintage. I bought this at 1855 wine shop for about 229 bucks, and I think that's a great gamble. I saw the fill on this bottle was great. It's 1975, and 1975 is a very austere year, very tannic year. The only thing you worry about is the fruit, but I thought it's worth a gamble, so I did take a gamble and bought a bottle, and we had it at a restaurant, and you'll see my tasting from that restaurant that night. So you can see this is the cork. It's actually pretty good. It cracked on me and I tried to pull it out, so I did that with a corkscrew, so I got it all out, but that was my fault. So here's the bottle. So here's 1975. It's a Premier Grand Cru Classe. Pretty simple bottle. I was a little concerned about the fill because it was so good and there wasn't a lot of sediment, but you'll see in the glass there's quite a bit of sediment. So the color is a little darker than it should be because there's a lot of sediment in the glass, which is makes me feel a little bit better about the situation. If you look at the color, it's consistent. It's kind of almost like a brownish tinge right now, but last night it was a lot more vibrant. It's been quite a bit of oxidation on the wine at this point. So I'm here at Akira Black Restaurant just with a subscriber in Singapore, and we just opened a bottle of the 75 Beau-Sejour Becot. A little bit concerned because it's actually almost too good to be true. So we've had this open now for about 2 hours. On the smell, I smell oak, I smell a little tobacco, tea leaves. There's a little bit of residual fruit, and I can also smell a little bit of acidity. It's really lovely. Could be the company, could be the restaurant, but it's really lovely. So now it's getting a little bit acidic, but earlier in the evening, I thought it showed a little bit more tertiary notes. From my perspective, it's now a little bit of black cherry. It's got some herbaceousness. I think it's a little bit over-aired at this point, but it's a lovely bottle. Lovely representation of the 75 vintage. In my books, it's 93 points. It's a wonderful wine. So now we're at the next day. I'm now tasting it. It's been overnight. I put it in the fridge in the hotel room. I'm at the Chateau Marriott in Singapore, and just relaxing on the 18th floor near the infinity pool. So let's try it right now. It's a little warm outside, obviously 30 degrees, but let's see what it smells and tastes like. So on the nose, it's a little warm, so it almost seems a little bit mulled. So not as nice and fragrant as yesterday, but you do still get some aromatics. I'd say it still has a lot of dried fruits. It reminds me of like dried cranberries, almost a little bit oxidative, a little bit of balsamic vinegar, a little bit of leather. But again, it's more difficult, and I really feel it for Singaporean drinkers because it's tough to drink in hot weather and keep the bottles at a proper temperature. On the taste, it's got a nice, it's a little acidic. It has been aired for quite a while, but it's got a nice finish, a little leathery tar. I see a little bit of dried cranberries, dried plums. Still pretty nice. Of course, it's been aerated quite a while, but still quite an enjoyable wine. And if you're in Singapore and you have a chance to buy this wine, I think it's a great price set of $229 or so. I'll have that in the comment section. Until next time, happy drinking.